Okay, everyone, if I may, I'd like to gather your attention. Thank you. My name is Ron Fry. I'm a professor in organization behavior and one of the faculty advisors for our Fowler Center for Sustainable Value. And I have the privilege and the responsibility to usher you through quite a number of very distinguished speakers and activities over the next several days. So I'll be the first but not the last tonight to welcome you to the 2009 Global Forum. And I have, according to my script, just about 1 minute left to introduce the first person to really welcome you this evening. And the cliche goes for him, of course, that he needs no introduction. To most people here, he's the most known to all of us, but he does deserve an introduction, so I am going to take just a few seconds here. I'd like to introduce David Cooperrider. He is the Fairmount Minerals Professor of Social Entrepreneurship and Professor of Organizational Behavior at the Weatherhead School here at Case Western Reserve University. He's also the faculty director of our new Fowler Center for Sustainable Value and director of the former Center for Business as an Agent for World Benefit, which is where his vision and passion launched the first Global Forum in 2006. David's been recognized by the Aspen Institute as their Faculty Pioneer Award for impact in the field of sustainability. He's been recognized with the Legacy Leadership Award by the American Society of Training and Development. And the list goes on with publications and recognitions. I just want to say something personal about David. He's not only one of the leading minds in the movement to study and promulgate innovations for mutual benefit between business, education, and society, he's also the heart of it. Those of you that know David know that without his passion for this direction and his passion for learning, we wouldn't be here. This forum would not be taking place. And finally, as a professor, one of our greatest joys is when we see students of ours develop and flourish and then help others to do the same. And I've had that gift from David in my life as a professor, as a student, and now my dear friend and colleague. He's enriched my life in countless ways, as he has with almost everybody else he interacts with. In this forum we are now beginning, I'm confident that you will experience many inclusive, provocative, hopeful, egalitarian, curious, and deeply appreciative moments of conversation. These are the extensions of who David is. And so I welcome you to the forum, and I'd like you to also welcome David Cooperrider.
Ron Fry and I will be kind of co-facilitating the sessions, and as Ron said, he was one of my dissertation advisors, and we've been together, what, Ron, since 1979, I think. And Ron is he's the chairman of our doctoral program at Case Western Reserve University, and just one of the best human beings you'll ever meet. And I really look forward to working with you, Ron, the next 3 days. So, several years ago, on October 14th, 2006, the United Nations Global Compact, with its 4,000 corporations from around the world, and the Academy of Management with its 19,000 professors from over 90 countries, partnered with Case Western Reserve to establish the Global Forum for Business as an Agent of World Benefit. That meeting several years ago was very exciting. It was one of the largest summits of its kind, bringing together companies such as Alcoa, Toyota, Unilever, and hundreds of the world's most visionary business executives, management scholars, and young student leaders. we really wanted to bring together a great theory practice. So our goal was to bridge theory and practice in ways that propel the best in each. At that session, an astonishing 400 papers and management workshops were submitted. So there was something happening in the whole domain in this area, featuring thousands of innovations. There were stories of factories being designed that give back more clean energy to the world than they use. Microenterprise models eradicating poverty through profitability, businesses realizing radical increases in resource productivity through biomimicry and natural capital, new strategy tools demonstrating how smart companies are using good corporate citizenship to open new markets, create generative value, and build industry leadership. Likewise, there were models of healthier everything, green buildings, better food, $100 laptops, plug-in hybrids, sustainable packaging, new fuel cells, breakthroughs, big breakthroughs with the concept of Millennium Development Villages capable of putting an end to extreme poverty, and of course, huge shifts toward a brighter, greener economy, including new jobs, venture capital, pouring billions into clean tech, solar, wind, smart grids, and plug-in automobiles. And at the end of the conference, there was just a unanimous conviction. It's a really exciting start. So productive was that global forum in our views and others that a long-term plan for supporting the forum as a biannual event was established. And it's true, we are here tonight with huge, exciting 3 days ahead of us, because of the friendship, thought partnership, and commitment of several founding sponsors and partners. Please help me to recognize some of those sponsors and partners, and I'll just ask them as a group to stand up. But I'd like to just say a few words on them. First of all, the Fetzer Foundation and its CEO, Tom Beach, committed. He's just an incredible person, committed to deep, high-purpose leadership, the kind that brings compassion, love, forgiveness, courage into this world. And secondly, the president of the Federation of Industries in Brazil, Rodrigo Lores, who is CEO of award-winning Nutrimental Foods and chair of Brazil's Council for Industrial Competitiveness, he continues to live a life with the full conviction that business can be one of the most important vehicles for building a sustainable society. Thirdly, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's last year #1 corporate citizen, Fairmont Minerals, and their CEO, Chuck Fowler, who's here, in addition, who helped Case Western establish the Fowler Center for Sustainable Value. And then with great gratitude, our 2 program partners, Manuel Escudero, representing the UN Global Compact and head of PRIME, Principles for Responsible Management Education, and representing the Academy's OD division, Frank Barrett. He's the president of the Academy of Management's Division of Organization Development and Change. All these people are here. I'd like you to stand up, if you would. And stay standing. And finally, the tremendous inspiration and support from our own dean, Mohan Reddy, dean of the Weatherhead School of Management. And Mohan, can you just raise your hands? Mohan Reddy, right there. Thank you, Mohan. This group is the reason we're here. They believed in this. They believed in us. They believed in the concepts, and thank you for believing in this shared vision. The Global Forum, we believe, as the name suggests, is unique. It's about the search for innovation. Business as a force for peace in high conflict zones. Business as a force for the eradication of extreme grinding poverty. Business as a force for eco-innovation and the 21st century transition to a sustainable economy and ecology of organizations. But our stance in the Global Forum is based on the exploration of the essential business logic in addition to the moral call. The Forum's essential belief is that sustainability is the business opportunity of the 21st century, that it's an innovation engine unlike anything we've ever seen in management, and it's a lens that will dominate the management agenda for the next 30 or more years. The head of GE, Jeffrey Immelt, the other day was actually investing billions more during this recession period into the whole eco-imagination portfolio, said last week that this recession rather than just another economic cycle, is actually a total reset. And I love that term. It's a total reset button. And it's a rare moment, and I quote, "It's a reset, and people who understand that will prosper in the future, and those who don't understand it will be left behind." I think it's an incredibly important time for deep, deep discussions and the whole basic questions of the firm and so on. Our question here is not the old, tired, Friedman-esque kind of debate and its assumption that social responsibility and sustainability are sidelines to the business or a drag on financial performance. Our emphasis is on sustainability's impact on innovation and the unexpected value creation and advancing the reality of business as an agent of world benefit, more in the spirit of Peter Drucker when he said the best way to predict the future is to just get on with it and to create it. And that's what this is about. In fact, at the last Global Forum, I shared the story of one of the most precious moments I ever had, a precious meeting with Peter Drucker at his home shortly before he passed away. He was 94 at the time, father of management thought, written more on management than anybody in human history. And he loved the topic of business as an agent of world benefit, and we explored it. I was sharing with him stories of interviews. We've done over 2,000 interviews in this domain. And, you know, I told him about the contrast we were seeing, for example, between Toyota's strategic approach to sustainability and GM's approach. And, you know, did you know that Toyota's president just the other day announced that they're on the drawing board designing a car that actually purifies the air as it operates? Anyway, we talked about those kinds of things, and I shared many stories with him, and he said then, with a kind of a mischievous look in his eye, a real sparkle, as if he was about to pronounce some secret, and he said, "Well, you probably already know it, but I wrote about it many years ago. And I won't forget these words, he said, every single pressing social and global issue of our time is a business opportunity in disguise, just waiting for that special mix of entrepreneurship, the solution-focused leaders, and businesses' pragmatism to get things done, to invest and reinvest." The choice of this year's theme is based on this kind of insight, and it's about the kind of corporate citizenship and approach to sustainable value that can powerfully, we believe, powerfully and effectively turn social and global issues of our day into game-changing business opportunities. With a high priority focus on the shifting question, I think this field has shifted dramatically to the question not of what and why, but how. How do we get on with it? That's the real question that we hear from the CEOs that we're working with. So we want to get on with it and how, on bridging theory and practice and advancing stories and new knowledge, what leading scholar Ken Gergen calls generative theory. Theory that challenges the assumptions of the status quo, opens the world to new opportunities and possibilities, and creates options for better living. The central question posed by this conference is this: how might the practice of management, especially as it relates to sustainable value creation, be transformed by design thinking? That is, by viewing managers as designers. Could it be that the design mind, as exemplified by leadership in architecture, in the arts, and theater, and design, might inform and transform the disciplines of corporate citizenship? Tomorrow morning, I'll say more about design thinking and what I'm learning from my colleagues, for example, Dick Bolin and Fred Colopy. In their scholarly work, it's a Stanford University book called Managing as Designing. But beyond the academic conceptualization, I'll share more about our real-life experiences, the feel of it, the practical experiences. For example, our work with the exciting design firm IDEO, and our experiences with Canadian designer Bruce Mau's Massive Change exhibition, the inspiration of Nancy Adler's life-altering arts and leadership program, which, by the way, you should put this down right now in your forum calendars for Nancy Adler's exciting session that she has designed tomorrow night at the Cleveland Museum of Art. It's going to be a very, very active and very profound session. As well as, mark this down, Janine Benyus and her biomimicry approaches on Thursday night. Anyway, as you'll see and experience, having designers in the mix is perhaps the key to multidisciplinary collaboration, and it's critical to uncovering unexplored areas of innovation. To be honest, we have a simple back-of-the-napkin kind of logic for the way we design a conference like this, you know, a conference of this magnitude, and it's a simple logic. Let's just create a wish list. Who do we want to hang out with? Who are the groups that we want to be with, and so on. Who are the people that we want to be with? And then let's find that magical mix between theorizing and playing, between dialoguing and designing, and soul-searching and mobilizing. I wish I could give more than a highlight film of what's to come. You know, in addition to the people just mentioned, we have Time Magazine's environmental hero, Bill McDonough, joining us tomorrow. We have live big screen connection with economist Jeffrey Sachs from Columbia University on the economic possibilities of our time. We have design scholar Richard Buchanan, former head of the design school at Carnegie Mellon, leading management school deans, major companies such as IBM and Herman Miller, Dow, Procter & Gamble, Accenture, Walmart, and Ray Anderson's Interface Carpets, along with practicing social and environmental entrepreneurs such as Holly Harland, Cleveland's E4S network, and tonight, the recent TED keynote speaker in Japan, Gunter Pauli. And we recently received the unexpected surprise that Canadian designer Bruce Mao. He'll be with us tomorrow, and I just love his massive change project, if you've kept up with that, and his new project called In Good We Trust. He's a really brilliant mind. Anyway, we are thrilled. We are thrilled that you're here, every one of you, for this, the reception evening for the second Global Forum for Business as an Agent of World Benefit, Managing as Designing in an Era of Massive Change. And while LeBron James and team did not quite win the NBA title, we're very proud to be honoring you in our city and region with its emerging vision, designing what David Beach calls a green city on a blue lake. A little later this evening, I think Mayor Jackson will welcome you to our city. It's a project that we're working with him on. But right now, it's my pleasure to invite now to the podium the president of Case Western Reserve University, one of our top supporters. She's just creating an environment that brings out the best in the faculty and the students. And my son just graduated from Case Western Reserve University and just applauds the momentum and the innovation and the great leadership from Barbara Snyder. Please help me welcome President of Case Western, Barbara Snyder.
Thank you very much. Thanks, David. It is great to be here. And we are fortunate, for those of you who are not from Cleveland, to have in our mayor, Frank Jackson, someone who recognizes the crucial importance of sustainability to the future of our community. And you will be meeting him shortly. If you are new to our university, let me say this is a great time to be at Case Western Reserve. We are fortunate to have great faculty, and you will be seeing a lot of two of our most talented faculty members, David Cooperrider and Ron Fry. I am so excited about this global forum. The potential of this gathering is almost unlimited. There will be several hundred people gathering from all over the world over the next few days for a powerful purpose. Whether your interest is business, sustainability, government, nonprofit, or education, you were all drawn here by one common theme. You want to achieve positive change. The anticipation you feel today, the energy we know you will experience tomorrow, the connections you will forge throughout the summit will profoundly influence you going forward. And these are just some of the intangible aspects of this event. Consider the agenda itself. As you heard from David, you're going to be hearing from some amazing scholars and leaders. Jeffrey Sachs, Bill McDonough, leaders of Dow and Procter & Gamble, deans and faculty members from the University of Pennsylvania, from MIT, from McGill. We have leading minds on appreciative inquiry and sustainability, design and innovation, education and economics. And just as important, we have the enthusiasm, the creativity, the intelligence that every single one of you brings to this enterprise. What happens over the next few days depends largely on you. Your engagement in the summit activities, in dialogues, in workshops, in breakout sessions, in hallway conversations, will transform those printed agendas into meaningful moments. Your willingness to follow through on the ideas and initiatives that emerge from the next few days directly affects how your organizations respond to the challenge of change. In short, this summit will provide all kinds of tools and information, but turning them into movements and actions of substance, that responsibility goes beyond David and Ron or any of the keynote speakers or the panelists. That's a responsibility that all of us share together. I do hope you enjoy your time here in Cleveland and at Case Western Reserve. Thank you for being with us. Let's get on with the future.
Well, one of the people that David intentionally left off his list of compelling speakers and a person to invite us into the beginning of the discussions of our themes and topics for this forum, I'd like to introduce you now to Gunter Pauli. Gunter is a world-renowned sustainability educator whose entrepreneurial activities span business, culture, design, politics, and the environment. He was born in Antwerp. He graduated in economics from Loyola's University in Belgium and obtained his MBA at INSEAD in Fontainebleau. Under Gunter's leadership, a small European detergent company, Ecover, pioneered the first biodegradable factory in the early 1990s. It was featured, among other places, on CNN's primetime news feature. He founded and directs today the Zero Emissions Research and Initiatives, part of the United Nations University in Tokyo. It's a network of over 3,000 scientists focused on creative solutions to our most pressing issues, all under the banner of no emission, no waste. Just one example recently is the basis for the design of the first zero-emissions industrial park in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Fluent in 6 languages and having lived on all continents, he is truly a world citizen. He's presently living in Kamakura, Japan. He's here tonight with his wife and his 4-month-old son. He's written 8 books, which have been published in 12 languages. His first book was a biography of Dr. Aurelio Peccei, founder of the Club of Rome, who Gunter assisted from 1979 to 1984. One of his more recent books, the title attracted me, Upsizing, More Income, More Jobs, and No Waste. Gunter has been recognized by the United Nations with their Global 500 Award. He's been recognized by the World Economic Forum as the Leader of Tomorrow Award, and he's received a special Global Environmental Award from Fuji Television. Again, these kinds of introductions could go on and on about the various and important ways that Gunter is fostering a sustainable future. But I want to end with just a few anecdotes that intrigued me. First, he's not just a protagonist of environmental well-being. His concept of sustainability is social and ecological. In 1995, he organized one of the first such internet-mediated video conversations between Nelson Mandela, Shimon Peres, Elie Wiesel, and President Jimmy Carter. This was part of the Future of Hope conference or summit that was going on in Hiroshima. Second, he's spoken recently of the concept of sustainability suffering from fatigue. And he speaks of a remedy through embracing and understanding much more deeply the design of natural or nature's systems. And third, I just found out this afternoon that he's advised and worked with our own Great Lakes Brewery here in Cleveland to help fashion their sustainability philosophy and agenda. Finally, through the Zero Emissions Research and Initiatives, He and his colleagues are revolutionizing education for the K through 12 levels through written and animated fables that illustrate and interest young learners in over 1,500 scientific principles that can shape sustainable behavior. So I hope you're intrigued. I cannot wait to hear the ideas and challenges that he has for us tonight. Please welcome Gunter Pauli.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for that introduction. It was, in my view, way too long. It ate another 5 minutes out of the time allotted to my speech. You know, when David got a hold of me in Japan, he said, would you mind coming on the 2nd? And it turns out that I was on my way with my wife and my baby to our ecological farm in Colombia, where we live off the land for a while so that we can get back to normality after spending too much time in San Francisco. And then he made me add a couple extra tons of carbon dioxide to my already exaggerated bad balance of carbon dioxide emissions to be here. We arrived at 3 in the morning and I'm delighted to be here, and I've already come across a couple of my friends that I have met and not met for many years, not least Nancy Adler. Nancy, good to see you again. I would like to share indeed about the natural systems, how they are going to shape the new economy. But I first want to get some wisdom out of the way, and I hope you can read a little bit in the background, because I'm going to give you both pictures and I'm going to share with you some words. You know this: if you give a man a fish, he will not be hungry for the day. If you teach him how to fish, that's the problem. The wisdom of the past is not going to take us to the future. And this is what we have to realize, that the parents always have the dream that their kids will be better off than they ever were. And therefore, we have to create space so our children can imagine those new pathways. Because if we are only teaching what we know, our children can only do as bad as we are doing. We have to create space for improvement. In 1991, I launched the concept of zero waste and zero emissions, which by now has 2,800 Japanese companies as members. And 99% of these companies have zero landfill achieved. 34% of the companies have zero waste and zero landfill achieved. And the third objective is no more mining. No one has achieved that. But the Japanese society, where I've been living 21 years, is one that likes to have these long-term clear goals, because everything can readjust towards whatever the perspective long-term is. I'm proud that Toyota uses this zero emissions slogan. But yes, you mentioned this is the factory that I constructed in 1992. The first factory where not only we were making biodegradable soaps, but the factory itself was 100% recyclable. Design the recyclability of a factory, only made from wood from sustainable forests in '92. When it was featured on CNN Primetime News, Bill McDonough came over 2 weeks later and wanted to have a look at it. And with Michael Braungart, we discussed cradle to cradle, right there with this before me. But here is where I need to bring you the reality check, and part of the story that most of the time is not told. Even though I had the most biodegradable products and a biodegradable factory, my formula was available to everyone who wanted to have it, and even today, 7th generation uses it. Because I didn't think that saving the world is something that could be proprietary. It had to be shared with everyone. But then everyone started copying that formula, and it made a tremendous rise in demand for palm oil. So today I have to humbly admit to you that I'm responsible for the destruction of rainforest in Indonesia. Because demand for palm oil caused such a skirmish on the market that Indonesia decided to destroy the habitat of the orangutan so you all and me, we could have biodegradable products. I learned the hard way that biodegradability is not sustainability. We needed to go beyond that logic. One of my other initiatives is the construction of this huge building at the World Expo in Hanover, and there's still another copy of that in Colombia, because I was on a crusade to see that buildings of the future, particularly in the third world, have to be buildings made out of bamboo. 1 billion people today live in bamboo buildings, and everyone thinks that the bamboo is a symbol of their poverty, and therefore they want to build with concrete and steel. I was fortunate to have 6.4 million visitors, and thanks to the fact that people like Richard Branson and David Bowie and Alan McPherson as well decided to build bamboo buildings, now the mindset is shifting. Bamboo is beauty. And even in America, you're willing to pay twice as much for a bamboo flooring than for an oak floor. That's nice. But is it sustainable? I set out to design, and this is the goal of my life, to contribute to the design of a competitive business model. A business model that is sustainability because it has the capacity to respond to the needs of everyone with what they have. To me, that is sustainability, with what you have. And that is how natural systems work. The last 20 years in the economy were systems whereby we were working with what we did not have. And unfortunately, that system did generate an awful lot of waste and generates today massive unemployment. That is not the business model that we want to pursue. Can you imagine that waste in America drains $1 trillion out of the economy by having to dispose of municipal, industrial, agricultural, construction, mining, waste, and medical waste? $1 trillion is siphoned out of the economy, and it's not even a subject of any of the major business schools or business journals. By the way, the budget that Obama has in place for recovering this world economy is about half of that, what is drained out in waste, spending on waste every year. There is enough cash in this economy if we focus. So if we only have waste and unemployment, what else do we have? And I agree with Peter Drucker. Yes, we have basic needs. Basic needs for water, for food, for healthcare, for energy. We want housing, jobs, and we want ethics. Because that's what's been missing in this race to accumulate cash. And what we also have is a lot of science. We apparently are not able to bring the science together with the needs and the business model that makes it work for the majority of the people. When you're looking at this beautiful park, Yellowstone National Park, then I see no unemployed and I see no waste. Nothing whatsoever. Ecosystems simply don't have it. So we need to reflect for a moment, what do we need in order to be able to create that sustainable society? First, think positive. Today, the news is so bad that it becomes difficult to think positive. One of my companies was the publishing house for the State of the World in Vital Signs of the World Watch Institute in Europe. When you read Vital Signs and State of the World every year, it's not easy to stay positive. So think positive. And be ready to learn creatively. We need to put aside everything we know and be prepared to embrace new wisdom that we're shaping together. And third, and that's very much I like the spirit, David, as you opened it, make it happen now. It is not about the planning and the cycles of envisioning the next 10 years. Step forward now. Do it. And this requires innovation, and this requires a new business model. The business model today is the one of core competence and core businesses. Unfortunately, that means that sustainability within that logic requires to invest more, save some, and pay back over time. I'm sorry, that's a bankrupt proposal when there's no cash available. No one is investing, even not for a return of 100% today. What we're in need of is to start looking and being inspired, not just by what we know is a business model, but we have to also start thinking about the collateral damage we very often create by only focusing on core business and core competences. I know, I did it with my factory. So the inspiration that we really have is an ecosystem. Because in an ecosystem that is as wonderful as this Amazon ecosystem has been going through an evolution, and evolution is about investing less, generating more, create social capital, and everyone contributes to the best of their abilities. That's the business model of the future. Multiple results with one action, because that is possible within an ecosystem. Enough theory, I'm going to give you 4 cases. And I'll call these the 4 cases of nature's MBA. If nature were to have designed its own MBA program, that's how it would look like. Rule number 1, substitute something with nothing. Interesting. Okay. Well, how do natural systems generate electricity every day? I guarantee you, they are going to use the power of gravity and biochemistry without metals. Batteries and wires are not used by anyone in natural systems, although everything in natural systems is always using electricity. Take the case of the whale. The whale is generating between 6 to 12 volts, pumping 250 gallons every pulse for 80 to 90 years without maintenance. I challenge those engineers in the room to show me the pump that is doing 250 gallons every pulse for 80 years without maintenance. It's not around. Well, it is around. It swims in the ocean. And we try to even exterminate it. No batteries, no wiring. Translation into product, here is the prototype of the first electrocardiogram patch that you put on your body, and then you just go out and cycle, or you go out and you just go swimming, and it will take for 24 hours your EKG without the need for any wires or the need for any batteries. It's operational and it works. It allows for Dr. Jorge Reynolds, who's been studying the whales for 35 years, to see how the whale conducts electricity around the heart, a heart that is 6'5", big heart. Perfect distribution of the electricity simultaneously to pump the 4 chambers blood. He now has invented the new pacemaker, or better said, the substituted pacemaker, where nanoscale carbon tubes will eliminate the need for surgery, for anesthesia, and for the battery. Anyone who's gone through the agony of a pacemaker placement into the body knows this is revolutionary. Or the latest results from the Fraunhofer Institute in Germany, which has a cell phone that works with body heat and with pressure generated by your voice. The more you talk, the longer you can talk. Interesting. I don't understand why both President Obama and the venture capitalists in California are pouring $1 billion in green batteries. Having a battery that is less toxic, or no battery. I go for the no battery. Of course we go for the no battery. So why are we pumping the money in making something less toxic? It's like a thief who says, I'm going to steal less. Let's be honest. Less toxic is still toxic. You either are toxic or you're not. You either have cancer or you don't. You're either pregnant or you're not. And a little bit less is still not possible. So therefore, the whole concept of rethinking the batteries allows us to say no battery. So the logic that we come from is now that we were not going to need metals, mining or smelting. I'm sorry, Cleveland. I know this was your past history, but here's a new one. Let's think positive. Because Robert Cooley and Henry Holinsky, two scientists from Polaroid, who were laid off in one of those downsizing operations, are now making it possible by chelating bacteria to simply recover from your e-waste 18 cations, one by one, at room temperature. What did we do? I asked the question, how do natural systems generate electricity? And we came up with some incredible things. We can respond to many basic needs without having to do mining. We have a new future for what we have already mined, and we shouldn't landfill it. Our e-waste has a future. That is substituting something with nothing. Nature's MBA would say, please evolve like an ecosystem. Well, the question I start with is, how do natural systems produce polymers? Or let's call it plastics. Well, not from petroleum and certainly not from cornstarch. Let us get that out of the way. That is not a natural way to do it. It's made out of amino acids. And the ants, the bees, the moths, and the spiders, they all know exactly how to do it. What's the first application? Well, silk is not anymore en vogue for clothing unless you buy Hermes. But the world market for biomaterials, good for about $19 billion, growing at 10% per annum, is increasingly using silk. For nerve repair, as sutures, cartilage repair, and bone graft. The knowledge behind it is that the nanoscale, one can change the geometry of the silk so that only with pressure and water, hear me, pressure and water, you can change it into a product that can compete with titanium. Interesting. So we're using the mulberry zinc and we're confirming it, we retransform it to a silk of the spider. Because the spider has these wonderful non-crystalline blocks that are so effective, it beats titanium in performance. And the production method? Cleared. Professor Fritz Wollrath from Germany, but working at Oxford, knows exactly how to spin the way the spider spins. With pressure and with water. Water as a solvent is a nice solution. Green chemistry is not about having a chemistry with less toxic molecules. Green chemistry is one based on using water only as your solvent. So let's talk about Gillette. I heard Procter & Gamble is going to be here. Are they in the room already? I'm not going to pick on you. If you're here anyway, you can lift your hand. Procter & Gamble has this wonderful business of Gillette. Well, I'm submitting the following to you. That thanks to the management of the silk at the nanoscale, it's possible to cut hair with silk. As smooth as silk. It works. You replace stainless steel and titanium that is a throwaway object. Can you imagine that 100,000 tons of titanium is thrown away every year, even by ecologists and greenies, because we're shaving our beard with it, and we throw it away. And we never bother recycling. Now, if you can do it with silk, then you have no metals, you didn't need the petroleum, and you don't throw anything in the landfill. Now, let's see what is the real power of silk. Is that the world production of silk is only 90,000 tons today, and if we want to substitute that razor from stainless steel and titanium with silk, we're going to need 100,000 tons. But the beauty of silk is that in order to have 1 acre in production, you generate 2 tons of silk and 18 tons of fertilizer. Now, the Chinese pioneered 5,000 years ago how to regenerate topsoil. And they regenerated topsoil with a tree called the mulberry tree. Regeneration of topsoil was a priority. Silk was the byproduct. Silk was the byproduct. So where are we now? In order to have these 100,000 tons of silk to substitute the titanium from our razors, we need 250,000 hectares of land, and we generate 12.5 million jobs. That is evolving in ecosystems. We started with the question, how do natural systems generate polymers? And we find out how we regenerate topsoil and generate millions of jobs in the meantime. It's not based on theory, it's practice. It's a matter of design. Third case, and my case is getting shorter. Substituting chemistry with physics. Yes, indeed, we should not have just green chemistry. Natural systems don't use chemistry. The power of physics is what drives it all. And the greatest power on Earth is gravity and not the sun. We forget about that. There's more force of gravity than there is ever force from the sun. And this is not to say that one is important, the other one is not important. We should use both. So, how do natural systems control bacteria? Well, not with chlorine and triclosan. It does it with a vortex. Yeah, the vortex. When you flush your toilet in the morning, you see the little swirl? That's the vortex. That's how nature starts cleaning bacteria, by pulling out the air. And when there's no air, you have no salmonella, you have no E. coli, you have no Legionella. Because when there's no air, they're not there. Kurt Hallberg is the one who cracked a mathematical model, non-linear mathematical model, in order to make this predictable. And by taking out the air from the water, you can make ice without having to freeze air, which means you save 15% energy. Any ice hockey rink can save 100,000 kilowatt hours immediately using the laws of gravity. That's all. It's nothing complex. Gravity works and is predictable. But if you have no air, you have no bacteria. If you have no bacteria, there's no corrosion. If there's no corrosion, we do not need the chemicals. That's how natural systems do it. But here we go to Brazil, because I learned that there are participants from Brazil, and we asked us this question: how can we convert flue gas, CO2, into probiotic food and biodiesel? And this is the project we did in Rio Grande do Sul, Santa Vitória do Palmar, and in Porto Alegre. Thanks to João Alberto Vieira da Costa, the professor in Pelotas, we have found ways of using the vortex to increase the amount of CO2 in the water at critical level and make it in bubbles the right size of the membrane so that the algae production goes up by factor 4. Using what? Only using the law of gravity. It works, it is predictable. In Brazil, thanks to spirulina from coal-fired power station CO2, we're eliminating hunger and malnutrition. Who said CO2 was bad? CO2 is bad because we don't use our brains. It works, it's operational, and I would say next time go and visit in Porto Alegre the facility. Children evolve from malnourished to healthy, thanks to what? We asked the question, how do natural systems control bacteria? And we end up by having biodiesel from CO2. And how to provide food security. My last case. I have about 100 cases. A Congress wouldn't even be enough. But we've studied every one of them, and this is my most fascinating and my dearest one. It's about natural systems always cascade nutrients and energy. What do natural systems do with organic wastes? Well, certainly not send it to the landfill. And incineration is also out of the question. Waste from food, waste from one, is food for another, belonging to another kingdom. Let's not forget the mad cow disease, because we were feeding waste from the cows back to the cows, and there was mad cow disease. So we needed to have this shift from one kingdom to the other. So let's go coffee. The world market of coffee has a very strange consumer behavior. We have 100% of the coffee beans, and only 0.2% ends up in your cup of coffee in the morning. 99.8% is wasted. It means in the economic terms, only 0.2% gets value. In positive terms, it means the potential is factor 500. Our foundation implemented the conversion of coffee into shiitake mushrooms using the waste substrate. And the waste from the shiitake mushrooms is used to feed the pigs. The plant is fed to the mushroom, the waste of the mushroom is fed to the animal. We're generating 1,000 times more amino acids for human consumption per hectare per year without any GMO ever coming into the play. We don't need GMO. GMO is a logic within a core business, core competence world. But with a systems approach, it's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. So what's the potential? If we can increase the value by factor 500 by making total use of the complete biomass, and if we do exactly as Starbucks is doing, buy it for 1/10 of a cent and sell it for $3. Adding hot water, of course. You add hot water, you make 3,000 times more. And now stay positive. Don't go to this boycott thinking now. We learn that it's possible to do it. Well, in Zimbabwe and Colombia, we have converted coffee waste to food. We call it pulp to protein. 10,000 people are employed now in Colombia, thanks to this initiative. Chito Govero, an orphan herself, who never knew her father, who became an orphan at the age of 7 and the head of the family at that same age, she learned how to provide for food using waste no one wanted. And Carmenza Jaramillo has over 20 internationally peer group reviewed scientific papers on her name substantiating the logic. We launched 2 weeks ago in America something called Cheetos Blend. We are relaunching the export from Zimbabwe that has been boycotted. Remind you, Zimbabwe has 90% unemployment, 90% unemployment. Because we in the West, we have the high moral ground and we're going to boycott Mugabe. Reality is that the people suffer. So our foundation has taken it on itself to relaunch the exports of coffee from Zimbabwe, but only from those farms where all the waste on the farm by orphans and girls at risk is converted to food. It means that a cash crop now becomes the basis for food security. And if there's food security, then the girls will not be abused by their families, the orphan girls in particular. And when there's food security, there will come an end to the sex trade. That is the real power of your purchasing power. It's possible to use that purchasing power. No waste, no hunger, no abuse, no sex trade, period. So how many jobs can we create? Well, 50 million rural jobs, 2 jobs per farm, there are 25 million farms. 100,000 jobs, inner city jobs. The first ones were created in the Bay Area last few months. And how much food can we generate? If all the waste from coffee worldwide were converted into protein, we're talking about 16 million tons of food. I will not rest until we stamp out hunger from Africa, and this is the way forward. There's waste and it doesn't make sense and we got to change it. And by changing it, I remember what my mentor Soichiro Honda, who I worked for in 1980, said, "Some dream to escape reality. Others dream to change reality forever." Let's share the good news. Thank you. I was told that there were going to be a few questions.
I have a microphone for you.
I hear you. I will repeat your question.
Like ground-up coffee beans that get thrown away?
No, it's what really happens is that when you have coffee, so when you're looking at coffee, here is the bean, and the bean has a husk and a shell around it that needs to be taken off. And then when you take it off, there is also a little film on the, everything is taken off, and all of that is considered waste. Then you roast and you grind the coffee, and then you pour hot water in it. And you only consume whatever comes in your cup of coffee. Whatever is a solid that's left in your coffee is called the coffee grounds, and that's wasted as well.
Yeah, and I understand. I'm curious if most of that is in America, though, isn't it? How are we going to get that back to Africa?
No, on the farm is where most of the waste is created. So, because the processing of the coffee bean, the cherry, is done on the farms. So that's where the big volume of waste is generated. What is the biggest thing that stands in the way of making this mainstream business? The MBAs. We have molded the minds of the MBAs to have core business, core competence. We have discounted cash flow analysis. We have market shares. We have the whole instrumentation for the measurement of the bonuses of all the MBAs solely on core business, core competence. That's the problem. And that's why I'm here, because I wanted to tell you that. Thank you. The way you phrased the question made it possible for me to be a bit more blunt in the answer. It's indicative that my alma mater in Hyatt has never invited me back to the university. Never. Never ever. One last question, please. Yes, lady there in the back.
As a young MBA, how do you forge a career in this?
You know, the beauty of this is that, as I'm describing in my new book that's coming out in a couple months, the beauty of this is that the large corporations will have such a hard time coming out of that mold of the core business, core competence, which is of course linked to the supply chain management, which is linked to outsourcing, which is linked to the whole management context that we've created. And the core competence that we're talking about, for example, for these batteries is no batteries. Well, you know, that's a tough nut to crack. And on top of that, instead of having an EKG machine that will sell for $2,000, that EKG machine is only a thin film for $6. So who wants to substitute $2,000 for $6? I tell you, you go to your board, you're out. There's no way your board is going to approve that one. So what is the message? Opportunity for the entrepreneur. I do special courses on how to start a business without money and without experience. It's the best course for young people who graduate. No experience, no money, ideal. You're the entrepreneur I need. but know how it normally should work within the traditional business framework. And then you can shift so quickly as an entrepreneur. Because the entrepreneur learns how David operates against Goliath. You remember the story? Who won? David. Why did he win? Because he changed the rules of the game without telling Goliath. One thought he was going to do a little wrestling and fist fighting, and the other one was ready with a stone. And one stone, if he would have told to Goliath, I'm going to throw some stones at you, well, Goliath would have come with a couple stones as well. He didn't, because he didn't know. So the competitive model today is not the SWOT analysis they teach you. That's good if you go and work for Procter & Gamble. But if you're going to be the entrepreneur, you don't want to do the SWOT analysis, because you will be out of breath by the time you finish. No experience, no money, no strengths, all weaknesses, a lot of opportunities, nothing but threats. Who wants to get into business now? And that's the other thing I learned from Mr. Honda. I asked Mr. Honda, how come you converted from a motorcycle maker to a car maker? Did you do the SWOT analysis? I clearly just graduated from my MBA. And he said, no. If I would have done, I wouldn't have done it. And I said, so what did you do? I said, I only make a list of all the weaknesses of my competitors. And that list was so long, I felt good. And I think looking at GM and Chrysler and Ford today, I think he was right. They're number 2 in the world, by the way. That little motorbike maker. Gentlemen, thank you.
Well, I don't know about some of you, but I think I'm literally speechless after that, even trying to think of a question. Hopefully, we'll keep the images and the ideas alive as we begin our more serious and deep discussions and conversations tomorrow morning. David mentioned in his welcome one of the new and exciting partnerships between our Fowler Center for Sustainable Value and the City of Cleveland. And it's my privilege to call to the podium the 56th mayor of the proud city of Cleveland, Frank G. Jackson.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you, I appreciate that. Well, first of all, I want to welcome you to Cleveland and also welcome you to the Global Forum for 2009. And I want to thank Dr. Cooperrider and Case Western Reserve University for the work that they do in this area. I also want to say that the advantage of hard times is that it gives you great opportunity to make change, and that we are in that type of time, and that our ability to make change and to make the right change and do it quickly is the most important thing. So I hope as we go through this that we'll come to the right conclusion and just not talk about it, but take action, because we are no longer, do we have the luxury of just a conversation. It is now a necessity, and that's also an advantage of difficult times. So thank you very much and welcome.
Good evening. My name is Emily Drew, and I work for the Fowler Center for Sustainable Value at Weatherhead with David and Ron, and I've had the great opportunity over the past few months to get to know so many of you in the room who are doing such great things. Ronaldo Brutocco is one of those people. He's the founder and president of the World Business Academy, a nonprofit think tank founded in 1987, whose mission is to educate and inspire business leaders to take responsibility for the planetary whole. That's how his biography starts in the Global Forum Handbook, and there are plenty more accomplishments where that came from. From litigating in the Supreme Court when he was 26, to his most recent book, Freedom from Mideast Oil. It's great to have Ronaldo here tonight to help kick off the Global Forum for Business as an Agent of World Benefit, not only because his career has been dedicated to finding ways to harness the multiple strengths of business for world benefit, but because it turns out, like so many of you here tonight, it's not just his career focus, but his life focus and his passion. Ronaldo and I were talking a bit about the Global Forum themes this evening before we got started, and a favorite quote of his from Lao Tzu came to his mind. The mark of a truly great leader is that after completing his work, the villagers turn to each other and say, "Look what we've done." The ability to inspire collaboration is not only a hallmark of great leadership, Ronaldo said, but of great design. Taking responsibility for the whole. Design for the whole, by the whole. The whole is a great concern of Ronaldo's work and of his life, and because of leaders like him, increasingly it's a concern of business. So without any further remarks, I'd like to invite Ronaldo.
Well, it's truly a great honor and a pleasure to be up here tonight to share not just an experience of ideas, but to open our hearts, our minds, and I think it's safe to say our souls, to the total creative potential which comes about when we accept that not only what can be, but what can be must be. There's a saying in the Academy we've had since we started in 1987, that it's our job to be responsible for the whole of society. What we meant by that then, and still mean today, is that we need a tripartite mission which has to engage all sectors of society. And that mission in 1987, which remains unchanged today, is number one, to address the current business leadership and to help it shift from a predator mentality to that of a steward. Because in shifting from predator to steward, one sees not what one dominates, but what one can nurture. The second part of the tripartite mission is to see what we can do to help young business students and young people in business generally, but particularly business students, to understand that they're entering not a jungle, but a noble profession. It's our experience that when you get ready to go to the temple, you act differently than when you think there's a jaguar on your tail. So I couldn't agree more with you, Gunter. It's the young people who have, regardless of resources, regardless of experience, in fact, sometimes experience has to be undone, but regardless of what they came to the life example of their desire to change with, whatever that was they came with, if they see themselves as entering a noble profession, ours in business is to do what is good and noble. It's quite a different conference room conversation in corporations. The third part of that tripartite mission is really to see that the society as a whole has got to begin to put its money where its values are. We have to buy composted coffee from Zimbabwe. We have to. We have to buy the most fuel-efficient vehicles. We have to do everything we can to reduce our carbon footprint. And if we do those things one by one, little by little, if we're willing to pay the extra money for that LED that has no toxic chemicals in it, if we're willing to do that instead of that fluorescent bulb, in some small way, we are helping. And that's, as a whole of society, putting our money where our values are. One of the great pleasures of the Academy, for me personally, as the founder and having done this now for so long, is that I get to work with great members and fellows. You're about to meet two of them. Ron Nazer and Tim O'Connor will be up here shortly to present the Ethic Mark Awards. We're also very fortunate that Dean Mohan Reddy, also a fellow of the Academy, as for more than a decade has been David Cooperrider, as is Ante Glavis, as is Ray Anderson, who was our 2004 Sustainability Award winner and who you'll be meeting on Wednesday, tomorrow. As is Bill McDonough, cradle to cradle. As is Janine Benrisk, and you've been hearing a lot about her directly and indirectly. As is Hazel Henderson, who up until a few moments ago was connected by Skype and I think is oh good, she's on the phone. So our dear friend Hazel Henderson, who really is the progenitor and the mother of socially responsible investing. And I couldn't end without acknowledging one other of our fellows, and there's over 100 of these wonderful people that I would urge you to go look at our website, worldbusiness.org, and look at some of the people, all of whom dedicate their time absolutely for free, as do I, so that the world will be a place that we want to live in, not a place where we thought we had to live in. And that last fellow of ours is Amory Lovins. And why I have to mention Amory is because for some of you who don't know, and by the way, we have a free newsletter, so it's very easy to get. Go to worldbusiness.org, click on it, you'll get the free newsletter. And it's very compact. We do it for executives, so it's like a digest, and every paragraph or so we have a link, so if you want more information, you can get it. But Amory just won a very interesting prize, and it couldn't be more perfect for this gathering. I don't know if you are familiar with it, but in the year 2000, the White House launched a series of basically what's called the Design Awards. And they're done through the Smithsonian, and specifically the Cooper Hewitt Museum at the Smithsonian. Amory just won the Design Mind Award. Let me read to you what it is. It recognizes a visionary who has effected a paradigm shift in design thinking or practice through writing, research, and scholarship. Just announced this year's winner. He's here with us in spirit, as is Hazel Henderson, Amory Lovins. I want to congratulate him because I think his work helps to set the context for what we're doing here. Thank you. Thank you for Amory. I don't wish to take any more of your precious time because I think the work of the conference is more important than probably what I would say. I think that what's really important is that you know, unfortunately, the remarks that Gunter just gave you are all too true almost all of the time. I think in business we have a better record than coffee. I think more than 0.2% of us are actually working on the right side of these issues. I don't claim it's the majority. I get to serve in a number of capacities, and one of them for over 18 years now. I've been on the founding board of the Men's Warehouse, which is a national company that we built from a very small regional clothing company. We sell men's suits, so not exactly an exciting business. And we're now a very large company, in fact, the first company in the New York Stock Exchange where a majority of the directors are members of the World Business Academy. We're also each year recognized as one of the companies that employees most like to work for, as independently surveyed by Fortune magazine. It's called the Fortune 100. And so we're very, very happy that there are some people in business that are doing some of the right things some of the time. And some of us in boardrooms actually are looking for all the right solutions, and we're incredibly rare. And I think it's the job of this conference, and for people like me who are in business, to basically articulate a common theme, and that theme is that we can serve ourselves, our families, our constituencies, and our companies best, not also, but best, by coming from design. Design of complete thinking of what I call enlightened self-interest. And that self-interest includes all humans, all animals, all plants, everything that makes up Gaia. That's not only our responsibility, it's our great joy. So in the Academy, we call it the responsibility for the whole. And it comes from a sense of service. Tonight, you're going to witness some awards. These awards were created because we wanted to help through our wonderful fellow Hazel Henderson, as you'll hear a moment from now, to acknowledge those companies who've created advertising that not only uplifts and inspires, but actually works in the marketplace. I won't tell you more than that because I'm going to introduce my colleague in just a minute who will do so. I will end with this thought, though. For those of you who think that maybe the business community isn't ready to hear this, I want you to know that when I started doing this back in 1986, it was a very, very small group of people. And now the Academy would fill this hall many times over. And I think all of us have one thing in common. And I think those of you who are here tonight probably have it in common as well. The first Asian to win the Nobel Prize in 1913 for literature was a man named Rabindranath Tagore. And he said, and I think it's important to remember this because this, I think, sets the concept of what we believe is not service out of a sense of denial or out of a sense of loss, but service out of a sense of glory. He said, "I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy." Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here for the Academy. And now I'd like to introduce Director of the Academy and these two gentlemen who have been the head of our Ethic Mark Awards this year, Tim O'Connor and Ron Naser.
And I believe that inside every businessman and woman is a voice, a spark that longs to apply their talents in incredible, remarkable, amazing, and marvelous ways and create a world that is much better than the one that they came into. A world which many generations forward would be honored and proud to say that their ancestors contributed to its making. A world that provides abundant subsistence to all, that offers clear skies, clean water, and safe communities. A world that sustains itself. A world which lifts people up with dignity and respect. A world that uplifts the human spirit and condition. And I believe that you believe this too. Otherwise, you would not be here. This is not your typical business conference. And I must tell you, it feels good to be here, to be with so many kindred spirits. Hello and good evening. My name is Tim O'Connor. I'm co-executive director of the Ethic Mark Award, a board member of the World Business Academy, and a managing principal at the Zeman Core Strategy Group. With me tonight is Ron Naser, co-executive director of also the Ethic Mark Award, a fellow of the World Business Academy, a senior research fellow at DePaul University, and managing director of Cooperrider.
The following is a commercial for commercials. You might be wondering why it was chosen to position advertising award at the start of a design conference. And I think the brilliance of the idea is because it all starts with consumer need. We're designing everything around providing needs. And the messages you're going to see tonight are stories. They are designed, you don't often think of advertising, but in every campus, in every town, there's a group of people thinking furiously about the design of messages. And that's what these messages you will see tonight are the ones that can uplift the human spirit. Gunter just gave us a very nice commercial. That was a paid commercial. I hope you were paid for that. It's a commercial for this coffee. So what you're going to see tonight is to focus on the messages that create the demand. The reason why that's so important is because the entire economy is designed to provide the needs of what we do. And advertising, those lowly messages, are really snippets. They are stories which shape the way that we shape our economy and our society. So they are of enormous importance, often overlooked, and we are thrilled to have this opportunity to show the work, and we thank all of you for participating in the process. So as you think of design, think of the final consumer and the message that you will take to those people to buy the product.
We also believe in the power of marketing and communications to further the public interest while also furthering legitimate private interest. Marketers, communicators, and the media, we have tremendous power to shape social attitudes and values, and therefore to serve as a tool to empower individuals and society to find solutions to the pressing social, political, and environmental challenges of our time. And so we believe marketing and commercial messages can simultaneously promote what is good for business and what is also good for society and the planet. We are honored to be here tonight and given the opportunity to bring the 2009 Ethic Mark Award to the Global Forum. And we thank our dear friend David Cooperrider for making this possible. Thank you, David. The Ethic Mark Award recognizes outstanding marketing, advertising, and public relations campaigns and communications which uplift the human spirit and society. Tonight we will be recognizing 5 ads by businesses and 5 by not-for-profit organizations which portray and reinforce healthy lifestyles and behaviors that enhance personal development, community life, social responsibility, environmental stewardship, sustainable development, human rights, or sound labor practices. Our dear friend and fellow of the World Business Academy, Hazel Henderson, the progenitor of socially responsible investing globally, conceived Ethic Mark in 2004, and she nurtured it in conversations with Ronaldo Brutico, Dean Deepak Jain of the Kellogg School, noted author Deepak Chopra, David Cooperrider, and Ron Naser, all fellows of the World Business Academy, as well as myself. And the first Ethic Mark Award was conferred by Hazel in 2007 to the Fund for Global Awakening and Global Interchange in recognition of their Decade of the Heart All Media Forgiveness campaign. Hazel's not able to be here in person tonight. However, she's been listening and watching via the internet. So Hazel, if you're hearing us, here's a shout out to you, because we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for your leadership. Thank you.
The award, the process for the award is to, it's under the World Business Academy, which you heard about from Ronaldo. This year we received dozens of awards from 6 countries. The nominees were narrowed to a group of 5 finalists who were then voted upon by an international jury of marketing, advertising, media, academic professionals, which includes our own David Cooperrider. If you'd like to learn more about Ethic Mark, go to ethicmark.com or take one of tonight's programs with you as it tells you more about Ethic Mark.
Before sharing this year's finalists, I'd like to tell you about the physical award, which we'll be handing out. It's here in front of me, and you can see it on the screen behind me. It's titled Circle Dance. It's carved by fair trade members of the Undugu Society of Kenya out of Kisii stone, which comes only from that part of the world. Circle Dance recognizes the circle of life that we're all a part of. As John Donne said, no man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. And so Circle Dance also points out to the marketing and communications community that we too are part of this great circle of life, that we need to contribute in positive ways, for we ultimately do reap what we sow. It's now our pleasure to show you this year's finalists, and then we'll announce the winners. After announcing the winner, we'll present again the winning ad. First, the finalists in the for-profit category. They are alphabetically. Our first finalist comes from Cooperative Bank of the United Kingdom. Their Good with Money ad highlights this bank's ethical policy.
Money can make a world of difference. That's why our bank has refused over £700 million of loans which conflict with its ethical policy. Our insurance was the first in the UK to reduce the carbon footprint of customers' cars, and our investments promote basic human rights around the globe. Join us and make a difference. The Cooperative. Good with money.
Next, a more simple example. Next, a more simple, everyday example. Denteen's relationship ad for the United States, which encourages us to get off the computer and interact with each person, with each other.
The original instant message. Voicemail. Chat room full. Friend request accepted. Dentine, make FaceTime.
Next up comes an ad from General Electric, from their Eco Imagination Scarecrow ad, promoting the smart grid, electrical grid.
I'd be scratching while my thoughts were busy hatching if I only had a brain.
Smart grid technology from GE will make the way we distribute electricity more efficient, simply by making it more intelligent.
If I only had a brain.
Johnson & Johnson comes the campaign for nursing ad, which celebrates the value and importance of nurses in the healthcare profession.
You're the one who's born to care.
This life was protected.
Seems you've always been right there.
This life was saved. And this life was made easier.
Making smiles appear again.
Because of this life, nursing. At Johnson & Johnson, we salute all those who choose the life that makes a difference.
You're a nurse. You make a difference.
And last we have a Pantene ad from Thailand entitled Chrysalis. Now this ad is 4 minutes long, and so we'll only be able to show a minute of it. The ad celebrates the struggle of the underdog, and that within each of us is a beautiful butterfly ready to be born. There are English subtitles. I hope that you'll be able to see them.
เป็ดแล้วจะบินเป็นคนหูหนวกแล้วจะเล่นไวโอลินเธอจะบ้าเหรอทำไมไม่ไปเรียนวิชาอื่นเสียเวลาคนอื่นเขา
A little bit of drama, and the winner is Pantene. Chrysalis from Pantene. We will now show you the whole commercial.
เป็นเป็ดแล้วจะบินเป็นคนหูหนวกแล้วจะเล่นไวโอลินเธอจะบ้าเหรอทำไมไม่ไปเรียนวิชาอื่นเสียเวลาคนอื่นเขา
A
วยงามนะครับสำหรับผู้เข้าประกวดคนสุดท้ายของเราในวันนี้นะครับและในช่วงต่อไปก็จะเป็นช่วงของครับเรายังเหลือผู้เข้าประกวดอีก1 ท่านนะครับในวันนี้เราไปพบกับเธอกันเลยครับ
Unfortunately, Craig Wyant from Procter & Gamble is not here. He'll be here tomorrow. He had to change his schedule. So tomorrow during the afternoon panel, we will confer the award. Don't ever underestimate the power of a brand to tell a story.
And now we'll present our not-for-profit finalists. First comes from Autism Speaks. It's an ad titled Autism Awareness. It tells each of us about how autism touches many more lives than you might have thought it did, including my family.
In 1990, in Severn, Maryland, the daughter of a clergyman was discovered by a music industry insider while pumping gas at a service station. The odds of her getting signed and spending 11 weeks at #1 on the U.S. singles charts? 1 in 19 million. The odds of this former church choir singer going on to sell 40 million records? 1 in 15 million. The odds of the same woman winning 6 Grammy Awards and starring in 2 Broadway plays? 1 in 75 million. The odds of this musician and performer having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 150. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
Next, an ad from CARE entitled I Am Powerful, which is speaking about a natural resource in the world that is greatly overlooked and which should hold the key to the improvement of our planet.
There's a natural resource that exists everywhere on the planet that could improve conditions and help end poverty. Yet, it's been largely ignored. That resource is women. In many of the world's poorest communities, women are denied a significant role. So often their talent and potential remain untapped.
I am powerful. I am powerful. I am powerful. I am powerful. I am powerful.
It's a source of power the world can no longer afford to overlook. She has the power to change her world. You have the power to help her do it. Visit care.org.
We now have an ad from 1% for the Planet. This ad is entitled 1%, which communicates how several businesses are directing a percentage of their sales to help improve the environment.
Sunshine, I'd really like to tell you, oh my sunshine, even though your skies are blue, you're drying up my bed. How can I get any rest now? Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. Someday you will get the best of me, oh. Someday, probably when I'm old and gray, I'm lying in my bed, and I will soon be put to rest now. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la. Sunshine, I'd really like to tell you, oh my sunshine, even though your skies are blue, you're drying up my bed. How can I get any rest now? Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. And someday you will get the best of me, oh. Someday, probably when I'm old.
Next, we present we have a choice from the Pickens Plan, Boone Pickens, which communicates the huge potential that wind-generated energy holds to make us all less dependent on oil.
Did you know America is the Saudi Arabia of wind power? We have the best wind power in the world, and nobody can take it away from us. But our transmission system, the grid, isn't able to get the electricity to our population centers. 50 years ago, we built the interstate highway system, and that triggered an unheard of economic growth. Now, if Congress acts to upgrade our grid, passes the national standard for renewable energy, we can unleash wind power and free up America's natural gas to power our big trucks and bus fleets and save billions of American dollars. Sure, it'll create millions of new jobs, but it will also set us free of dependency on foreign oil. We have a choice to make. Contact your members of Congress. Go to PickensPlan.com and find out how. We can put America back to work at what America has always done best, building our future and declaring our independence.
And finally, we have another ad from the United Kingdom. It's Stop Climate Change's When I Grew Up ad, which raises awareness of not only airplane pollution, but also sound pollution.
When I grow up, I would like to be a dentist. I would like to have a garden.
I want to be a professional football player with 2 kids, one wife, and a cat.
I want to be a vet and live in a big house with lots of pets, like dogs, cats, hamsters, rats, and fish.
When I grow up, I would like to be a barrister so I can fight crime and injustice. When I'm older, I want to be an artist, and if I'm successful, I want to be the next Leonardo da Vinci. When I grow up, I would like to be a lawyer, so I want to be a doctor.
And the winner is I Am Powerful from CARE. We'll have the opportunity to watch that ad again.
There's a natural resource that exists everywhere on the planet that could improve conditions and help end poverty. Yet, it's been largely ignored. That resource is women. In many of the world's poorest communities, women are denied a significant role. So often their talent and potential remain untapped.
I am powerful. I am powerful. I am powerful. I am powerful.
It's a source of power the world can no longer afford to overlook. She has the power to change her world. You have the power to help her do it. Visit care.org.
Now, Helene Gale, who's the president and CEO of CARE, could not be here in person tonight to accept the award. However, we have a video message from her, which we'd like to share.
Hello, I'm Helene Gale, president and CEO of CARE. On behalf of our dedicated staff and the communities we work with around the world, thank you. The Ethic Mark Award is unique in that it not only recognizes a creative product, it honors the intention to uplift and unite people. CARE works in some of the poorest places on earth, and we see the devastating consequences of poverty every day. Certainly, we can tell stories that would break your heart, but that would be a disservice to the vibrant communities, in particular the powerful women striving to improve their lives. They don't want you to feel pity or guilt. They want you to stand with them by working to eradicate poverty. And that's the response we hope to inspire with our natural resource, PSA. Thank you again for honoring CARE and recognizing the power all of us have to build a better world.
So in conclusion, as you work on all your design issues, all the issues you're talking about, remember that toward the end of it somewhere, you're going to have to deliver a commercial message. May it inspire and uplift us all. Thank you very much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Hazel, Ronaldo, Ron, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to share with you the 2009 Ethic Mark Awards and show you how leading-edge marketers and communicators are bringing to the marketplace messages that simultaneously promote what is good for business and what is good for society and the planet. We'd enjoy visiting with you over the next several days throughout this conference. If you'd like to talk to us further about your thoughts around this topic and ethical advertising, please come by and introduce yourself to myself or Ron or Ronaldo. We'd especially like to hear your thoughts and learn from you. So thank you, and now I believe to turn it over to Ron Fry. He has some closing remarks.
Okay, I have just one more person to introduce you to. This is a very important person. She will be giving you important information and directions throughout the forum. Our forum manager is Jean Duplessis. She comes to the the Fowler Center for Sustainability. Sorry, Chuck, I got Fowler and Fairmont together. She comes to us with a background in journalism and as a global networks manager for a global NGO. She was the country director of that NGO in her home country of South Africa. And she's probably the happiest person to see you all here and actually starting this. She's worked nonstop day and night for about 6 months so that we could all be here to enjoy this company and to have the great conversations that are going to be coming up. So Jean, please come up.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Ron. To say that I'm happy to have you here is an understatement. I've been waiting in anticipation for months for every one of you to join us here. So thank you so much for coming to the Global Forum. I will keep this short, and everything I say will be useful, I promise, and important, as Ron has mentioned. So thank you very much to our sponsors, without which this event would not have been possible. So thank you to the Fetch Institute, thank you Fairmont Minerals, thank you CNI Brazil. Accenture was joined us, come on board just recently, to the Aspen Institute, to the Cuyahoga County Planning Commission, and to E4S, who's been our backup and support throughout this whole process. And I would just like to say a warm word of thanks and welcome to the speakers that were here tonight, Mayor Jackson and everybody else that has been here. And also thank you to our co-conveners, the UN Global Compact, and especially the Prime Office, and also to the Academy of Management Organization and Change Division. So now over to the important things. Tomorrow morning, sessions will start at the Veal Center on the Case Western Reserve University campus. And the shuttle buses will leave here at 7 a.m., between 7 a.m. and 7:45. We can only validate your parking if you're not taking a bus if you park at lot 53, and that is right next to the Veal Center. Breakfast will be served at the Veal Center from 7:30 onwards, and we will start our agenda at 8 a.m. sharp. If you've registered here tonight, there's no need for you to come to the registration desk again tomorrow. You can just proceed into the venue. And information on how to attend the breakout sessions will be given to you tomorrow throughout the day. So you don't need to come and register for those. Our sessions close tomorrow at 5:30 at the Veal Center, but there is a very special Arts and Leadership event happening at the Cleveland Museum of Art tomorrow evening, and we encourage you to attend that. The shuttle buses back to the hotel will be leaving between 8:30 and 10:30 from the Cleveland Museum of Art. So if there are any questions, we encourage you to take a look at this beautiful workbook that you've all received in your bags tonight, and the information should be in there. And if there's something that you still need or that you're still wondering about, come visit us at the registration desk. We'll be there all day. So, ladies and gentlemen, you might not believe it, but this is it. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening.